Welcome back, it's Casey, and I guess the first thing I want to do today is go into the War Council and see if anyone has finished their assignments from what I left off with yesterday. Okay.
My scouts are posted on the ridges in case there's any trouble.
Our efforts bore fruit. A portion of the profits will be passed to you. Use it wisely, Harold. Okay. Okay, so we want to start with Varric. He wanted Ruffles, aka Josephine. So we're going to go ahead and send her off now that she's done getting gold. And is there anything else we can do? We don't have enough power for that. It's completed. Not enough power for that. The Terran of Highever. To whom it concerns. The Terran of Highever wishes to convey our deepest sympathies on the death of Divine Justinia V. The Most Holy was incomparable in her wisdom and dedication to peace, and we had high hopes that her conclave would succeed. We will hold a vigil in Highever in remembrance of Justinia, and cordially invite the Inquisition to attend. Sincerely, Terran Fergus Cousland. Hey, isn't Fergus? I'm pretty sure he was my warden's older brother. Like, if he chose the human noble, he's like the older brother of the hero of Ferelden. That's awesome. Okay. So Leliana says, I know Terran Cousland and I knew Justinia. I can't attend, but I could write to him. And Colin says, we have a number of Ferelden officers. We could send an honor guard to Highever. Yeah, let's go with that.
All right.
Okay, I guess we will send Leliana to gather coin because there's nothing else we have to do.
Let's see what we have.
Okay. So far, all I've really done is explore a little bit of Haven, so I'm going to continue doing that today. I mean, I don't even think I've made it out of the Chantry yet, so I have a lot to see still. Okay, I guess we're going to the basement. What is this? It's pretty bleak down here. Okay. Chantry hierarchy. Okay, sorry, I chose to read that one myself. It's so much quicker to just read it not out loud for things like that that are just not really essential to know about. Founding of the Chantry. Okay. Okay. One of the benefits to being a rogue is unlocking doors. That is something I couldn't live without. The Disciples of Andraste. The Disciples of Andraste are unique in all of history. The cult preceded the Chantry and kept itself so hidden and isolated that it actually survived to modern day. The Disciples made their home high in the Frostback Mountains in a village called Haven, which is now a sanctuary for pilgrims of the Chantry. It is understood that the Disciples were descendants of the first followers of Andraste, who brought her ashes to Ferelden and built the temple to house it. Because they had pledged themselves to the keeping of the Temple of Sacred Ashes, the Disciples of Andraste never left the Frostbacks. For 900 years they kept strangers away, killing all who came, and were completely oblivious to the world that advanced beyond the boundaries of their home. Having developed separately from the traditions of the Andrastian Chantry, the Disciples were led by revered fathers. However, little else is known about the original beliefs of the Disciples, for they had turned from their noble heritage by the time they were discovered. Almost all scholars believe that centuries-long isolation imposed upon the village led to the necessity for inbreeding. This practice likely led to a greater incidence of madness, which may explain why the cult was, at the time of discovering in 930, worshipping a high dragon. According to writings discovered in Haven, the disciples of Andraste showed reverence to the dragon, believing it to be the prophet, reborn. The egg, clutches, and dragonlings of the dragon were afforded great honor for being Andraste's offspring, and they were cared for by the cult. The dragon never attacked the cult, being cunning enough to recognize how this arrangement benefited it. In 930 Dragon, the disciples were wiped out by the hero of Heraldon, who was on a quest to retrieve the sacred ashes of Andraste. Okay, so that's a nice way to refer to the cult, I suppose. Yeah, because I remember Haven being like really effed up. So, Andraste, Bride of the Maker. There was once a tiny fishing village on the waking sea that was set upon by the Tevinter Imperium, which enslaved the villagers to be sold in the markets of Minrathos, leaving behind only the old and infirm. One of the captives was the child of Andraste. She was raised in slavery in a foreign land. She escaped, then made the long and treacherous journey back to her homeland alone. She rose from nothing to be the wife of an Alamari warlord. Each day she sang to the gods, asking them to help her people who remained slaves in Tevinter. The false gods of the mountains and the winds did not answer her, but the true God did. The Maker spoke. He showed her all of the works of his hands, the Fade, the world, and all the creatures therein. He showed her how men had forgotten him, lavishing devotion upon the mute idols and demons, and how he had left them to their fate. But her voice had reached him, and so captivated him that he offered her a place at his side, that she might rule all of creation. But Andraste would not forsake her people. She begged the Maker to return, to save his children from the cruelty of the Imperium. Reluctantly, the Maker agreed to give man another chance. Andraste went back to her husband, Mayfrath, and told him all that the Maker had revealed to her. Together they rallied the Alamari and marched forth against the mage lords of the Imperium, and the Maker was with them. The Maker's sword was creation itself, fire and flood, famine and earthquake. Everywhere they went, Andraste sang to the people of the Maker, and they heard her. The ranks of Andraste's followers grew until they were a vast tide washing over the Imperium. And when Mayfrath saw that the people loved Andraste and not him, a worm grew within his heart, gnawing upon it. At last the armies of Andraste and Mayfrath stood before the very gates of Minrathos, but Andraste was not with them, for Mayfrath had schemed in secret to hand Andraste over to Tevinter. For this the Archon would give Mayfrath all the lands to the south of the waking sea. And so, before all the armies of Alamari and Tevinter, Andraste was tied to a stake and burned while her earthly husband turned his armies aside and did nothing, for his heart had been devoured. But as he watched the pyre, the Archon softened. He took pity on Andraste, and drew his sword and granted her the mercy of a quick death. The Maker wept for his beloved, cursed Mayfrath, cursed mankind for their betrayal, and turned once again from creation, taking only Andraste with him, and Our Lady still sits at his side, where she still urges him to take pity on his children. From the Sermons of Justinian II. Okay, so that was interesting. The Black City. No traveler to the Fade can fail to spot the Black City. It is one of the few constants of that ever-changing place. No matter where one might be, the city is visible. Always far off, for it seems that the only rule of geography in the Fade is that all points are at equidistance from the Black City. The chant teaches that the Black City was once the seat of the Maker, from whence he ruled the Fade, left empty when man turned away from him. Dreamers do not go there, nor do spirits. Even the most powerful demons seem to avoid the place. It was golden and beautiful once, so the story goes, until a group of powerful magister lords from the Tevinter Imperium devised a means of breaking in. When they did, their presence defiled the city, turning it black, which was perhaps the least of their worries. From Beyond the Veil, Spirits and Demons, by enchanter Mirdramal. Okay, I guess that was everything in that room. Oh, okay, I think this is where I was being held, like, prisoner. I was trying to light that torch. I guess I decided I wanted to unlock this door instead. Is there anyone, like, in here or anything in these cells? So it's kind of weird to be back here now that I'm not a prisoner any longer. I'm trying to think about it. Is it normal for the Chantry to have cells? Like prison cells? Misplaced notes. Notes written by one of the scholars responsible for restoring Haven. The notes had obviously come loose from a ledger of some sort. It took weeks scrubbing bloodstains from the stone. One of two things is true. Either stone is more porous than I thought, or Maker's beard there must have been a lot of blood. How many people died? I'm so relieved I didn't have to deal with the altars of sacrifice. The first arrivals found. Those were tossed off a cliff, I think. So now we just have to deal with the stains on the walls and floors. This doesn't clean up in a day or two. I'm asking for some fresh plaster. Maybe we can cover them up. Still, it's not all bad. Haven is a beautiful place, and while working in the dungeons, we found scraps of paper with writing that looked like Brother Ferdinand Genetives. He was held here for 3 weeks before the hero of Ferelden found him. Okay, so maybe there's only cells down here because of the cult? Because I don't remember ever being in a chantry that had a prison. So I'm thinking maybe this was a special thing for the cult, but I could be wrong. I really have no idea, but I'm pretty, I think that must be it. Because I think it's a little bit bizarre for a place of worship to have a prison underneath. Okay. All right, let's head out into Haven. Let's see what my quests are. I don't want to do that. Haven. Okay, I'm supposed to speak with the smith, the quartermaster, and the apothecary. Okay.
Learn it, child, is a blessing.
So we're heretics, just like that. Should we surrender, or...?
Don't be foolish. We are the Chantry, as much as any clan cleric.
Okay, here's Leliana. Let's see what she has to say.
Blessed are the peacekeepers, the champions of the just. Blessed are the righteous, the lights in the shadow. In their blood, the Maker's will is written. Is that what you want from us? Blood? To die so that your will is done? Is death your only blessing?
You speak for Andraste, no? What does the Maker's prophet have to say about all of this? What's his game?
Game?
How is this a game? Do you see the sky? What about the temple ruins? The bones lying in the dust? Even if you didn't support the Divine's peace, you wouldn't call this right. Who could? So many innocent lives. The faithful murdered where the holiest of holies once stood. If the Maker willed this, what is it if not a game or a cruel joke?
I can't speak for Andraste.
I speak for no one but myself, and I have no answers for you.
Then we can only guess at what he wants. The Chantry teaches that the Maker abandoned us. He demands repentance for our sins. He demands it all. Our lives, our deaths. Justinia gave him everything she had, and he let her die.
My sympathies.
I'm sorry. Her death has clearly hit you hard.
Not just me. All of us. She was the Divine. She led the faithful. She was their heart. If the Maker doesn't intervene to save the best of his servants, what good is he? I used to believe I was chosen, just as some say you are. I thought I was fulfilling his purpose for me, working with the Divine, helping people. But now she's dead. It was all for nothing. Serving the Maker meant nothing.
You said, let me help you.
Maybe
Clearly
you have
she's
another
having a lot of
purpose.
problems.
I could help you find it.
No, this is my burden. I regret that I even let you see me like this. It was a moment of weakness. It won't happen again. Come, to work then. We will speak later.
I feel like Liliana has changed a lot since Origins. She's clearly taking Justinia's death really, really hard.
So it's true. Butler has stand on us. I hope my hunch was wrong.
You knew him well?
Not as well as I thought. Show me the reports. There were so many questions surrounding Faria's death. Did he think we wouldn't notice? He's killed Faria, one of my best agents, and knows where the others are. You know what must be done. Make it clean. Painless if you can. We were friends once.
Okay, so obviously someone has betrayed her. So my character isn't bloodthirsty, so she's going to say, do we have to kill him? Because I'm not sure that killing is going to solve any of her problems to kill someone that was once her friend. So, do you have to kill him?
Wait, what are you doing? He betrayed us. He murdered my agent. And you'd kill him, just like that. You find fault with my decision?
I'm going to say killing isn't the answer.
We can't solve our problems with murder.
And what would you suggest? Leave him be. Butler's betrayal put our agents in danger. I condemned one man to save dozens. I may not like what I do, but it must be done. I cannot afford the luxury of ideals at a time like this.
I'm going to say find a better way.
I expected better from the Inquisition's spy master.
You've made that point clear. Apprehend Butler, but see that he lives. Now if you're happy, I have more work to do.
So I think I might have just pissed her off. Hopefully she doesn't get too upset. We'll see if she has anything else to say.
Reports of fade rifts and demons keep coming. The people are terrified, and it's only getting worse. The only thing that will calm their fears now is the hope that someone out there can save them. You have to be that someone. No one else has any power over the rifts. Seal them. Your legend will spread, and Thedas will learn to trust the Inquisition.
Yeah, why do you care about mages?
Why do you want me to seek out the rebel mages? Why do you care?
I've known mages. Some of them were better people than me. And yet I'm free and they're not. It's not right.
So, you're Justinia's left hand.
They called you the left hand of the Divine.
That they did? What of it?
Why start an Inquisition?
What is the point of an Inquisition?
Justinia would have started the Inquisition if the Divine Conclave failed to restore peace. She hoped that with enough support, we could challenge the very tenets of the Chantry. She wanted the Chantry to treat the mages fairly. But sometimes I wonder, why stop at mages? The Chantry has committed many injustices. If we're going to change it, why not change the whole thing? It's just a thought. None of this will be possible if we fail.
Okay, so I think that's really interesting that the Divine was gonna start the Inquisition, considering she was already the head of the Chantry. Okay, so I'm gonna say I'm sorry she died.
I'm sorry she didn't live to see the Inquisition.
So am I.
Why don't you join my party?
I could use the left hand of the Divine at my side out there.
Every agent out in the world is my eyes, my ears, my blade. Wherever my people are, I am also. Coming with you, leaving my post, would blind and bound me. Do you see?
Okay, so I guess she's not going to be one of my companions. She'll just be someone that I see when I come back to like the home base. So what is the left hand?
What exactly does the left hand of the Divine do?
A divine always has enemies, and Justinia had more than most. I protected her. I watched, had an ear to every door. I identified threats, and I dealt with them.
Why so many enemies?
Why did Justinia have so many enemies?
There were many who felt she was unfit to be divine. She had a past, a worldly life. Unlike many, she wasn't given to the Chantry as a child. She chose it, and somehow that made her unworthy. And because they thought she was unworthy, they wished her harm.
I'm gonna say you're evading the question.
You still haven't told me what you did, exactly.
I handled difficult situations that couldn't be resolved through more delicate means.
Tell me more about Justinia.
I'd like to hear about Justinia. What was she like?
A friend. A mentor. Like me, she had secrets, made mistakes. It made her human. I think her followers responded to that.
How did you meet?
How did you and Justinia meet?
I met her a long time ago, before she became divine. Before she was Justinia. When I met her, she was Mother Dorothea. I was at my lowest. Broken, lost. And she saved me. No, wait. She hates it when I say that. I saved myself. She just showed me it was possible.
I feel like this is an inappropriate question to ask her. So I'm just gonna say let's continue this later.
We'll talk more later.
Okay, let's see if there's anything else she
I'm
can tell
listening.
us. Tell me about yourself.
Let's talk about you.
Me?
Tell me about your past.
What did you do before you worked for the Divine?
I was a bard, an Orlesian spy for many years. For a time I also served a small cloister in Lothering. After the Blight, the Divine called on me to oversee her personal network.
I'd like to be a bard.
Can you teach me to be a bard?
Being a bard is so much more than being a spy. It involves a keen understanding of politics, the ebb and flow of influence, the great game. The Bard's is an intricate dance where a smile can be sharper than any dagger. The best way to learn is to immerse yourself in it. Perhaps when this is all over, I'll teach you.
Got any stories?
Bards tell tales. I bet you tell some good ones.
There are plenty of tales in the library. Perhaps you should look for them there.
Okay, that was kind of rude.
I should leave you to your work.
We can always talk later. Yes?
So, you are well connected.
You seem to know a great many people.
I have made friends, and on occasion enemies. It's unavoidable.
You met the hero of Ferelden?
You have a history with the Warden who entered the Blight, don't you?
I count her among my closest friends. She's probably the only person I trust completely. I haven't heard from her in some time. She just disappeared. I try not to think about what might have happened.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll get to find out what happened to her. Because I'm trying to think, like in Dragon Age, the very end of Dragon Age 2, when Cassandra and Varric were leaving, she said, like, Hawke was gone and the Warden was also gone, so...
They say you spent some time in Lothering. Did you know the champion?
We spoke a few times. I seldom left the Chantry, and we never became more than casual acquaintances. I saw more of the Hawke twins. Bethany in particular. She would spend time in meditation at the Chantry, and she seemed to like my stories. The other one, the young man, he was a little surly. I did encounter the champion again later in Kirkwall. Those were terrible times.
Why were they terrible?
Was this when the Chantry was destroyed?
No, that happened later. But even then, the news coming out of Kirkwall was disheartening. There were some in Val Rayo who wanted the Divine to declare an exalted march on Kirkwall. Justina sent me there to see if that could be avoided, to gather evidence to calm those agitating for war. I guess it didn't matter in the end.
Okay, we'll talk
We
later.
can continue this conversation later.
You know where I am? Yes?
You seem to know a great many people.
I have made friends, and on occasion enemies. It's unavoidable.
How do you know Josephine?
You seem to know Josephine quite well.
I met her a long time ago, but we didn't become good friends until years later. After the Blight, in fact. I'd just returned to Val Rayo, and she welcomed me back by throwing a diplomatic ball. She was the Antivan ambassador at the time, you see. The ball was... alright. Too many politicians. At midnight, Josie and I left to find a real party. We've
What
been
does that
friends
mean?
ever since.
Yeah, real party?
What do you consider a real party?
It's not a real party until someone's small clothes are pinned to a chantry board. And that's all I'm saying about it.
We'll talk later.
We can continue this conversation later.
You know where I am.
Okay.
Master Harry said that without more ore, he won't be able to get blades for the recruits.
Tell Master Harriet that ore doesn't grow on trees.
Yes, Mom. I think he knows, Mom. He talked about how we have to dig it up.
No, my lady, I don't know where the other nobles are. I suggest you ask Ambassador Montillier. Oh, you're her. Thrin, Inquisition Quartermaster. I'm doing what I can to supply this mess. If you find what I need to fill one of my requisitions, I'd appreciate you bringing it in.
What is your job?
What do you do here?
I make sure the Inquisition troops have food in their bellies and iron in their hands. Both are important. Lots of people expecting us to be heroes, marching all day to fight the demons. Turns out heroes need to dig latrines just like everyone else.
How did you end up here?
How does someone end up as quartermaster for the Inquisition?
I served for Eldon under Ten Loghain MacTier, best commanding officer this world has ever seen. After they all turned on him at Denerim, though, there wasn't much use for people who held that opinion. King Alistair offered my services to the Inquisition, probably to get rid of me.
Yeah, Logan was a traitor.
Loghain MacTier betrayed the Grey Wardens and his king.
Were you there at Ostagar? I was. King Cailan overextended his position, and the Grey Wardens were too late lighting the signal. Following the original plan would have gotten everyone killed. Ten Loghain made the right decision. I apologize. Sister Leliana told me I shouldn't talk about this. Just forget it.
Yeah, tell me about requisitions.
What did you mean when you mentioned requisitions?
I'm making this Inquisition run with what we have, but we're not a real army. We're stretched thin on materials, so I've put up a requisition list for anything that could help our people. Here, take a look. You find some iron and a good logging site, maybe Harriet can get our troops better weapons.
How do I fill special orders?
If I have material for a special order, do I bring it to you?
Just take it over there. One of my boys will take the materials or jot down what you found.
Okay.
Farewell.
Make her go with you.
So I'm really not a fan of her. Okay, so here's the requisitions. So I need 1 logging stand and 5 iron. Okay.
Thanks for checking anyway.
So now I have a new quest requisition for materials. Okay. I thought I could loot that chest, but no.
Blessed are the righteous, the lights in the shadow.
So is this a
In their
logging
blood, the
stand?
Maker's will is written.
No.
When there was no sky maker, you were the sky.
Patient observations day 3. Less thrashing. Some response to stimulus. Vitals seem solid. 2 attempts so far by locals to break into the chantry to kill my patient. All of this work to save her life, and will they just execute her? Will inform Lady Cassandra. I expect her to wake before the morn. Okay, so I guess that's more information about me after I closed the rift. Okay, there's Varric. I'll talk to him on my way back. I want to see what else is around.
And you've seen no signs of the Grey Wardens anywhere?
Nope.
You're certain?
Thank you.
Oh, Maker, you're here. You're the Herald of Andraste. She sent you to us to show the world her love, and I am ready for that love. Well, I'm not ready for that kind of love. That is, unless that's what you want. But, I mean, I'm Flissa. Can I get you a drink?
Unless that's what I want.
What did you mean by that kind of love?
Nothing. I didn't mean anything. What did you mean? As I said, I'm Flissa. The Inquisition soldiers needed a place to unwind, so Leliana brought me in to set up a tavern. Nothing fancy, but it's safer for the soldiers than looking for trouble in some village.
She's a bit flighty. Okay. How do you know Leliana?
You said Leliana asked you to run an Inquisition tavern. How did you meet?
Dumb luck, mainly. I managed an inn back in Denerim. When I heard interesting gossip, I'd pass word to Leliana. Sometimes it was helpful. She asked if I wanted to own my own tavern, and I said yes. I didn't realize she meant this.
What can I find in Haven?
What can you tell me about this area?
Adan is Haven's apothecary. He's been making potions and tending to the wounded as best he can. Harris is the Inquisition smith. Whatever he can make you, Thren the quartermaster can probably find. And for anything fancier, you can try buying from Segrit. His prices aren't too high. Yet. Oh, there's also Minave. She studies beasts and things, as I understand.
Okay.
Farewell.
Goodbye.
Tale of the Frostbacks. Yeah, so sometimes I just won't be able to pronounce things, and I'm sorry. Okay, so I guess that was it for the little pub, tavern, whatever you want to call it. Apothecary. Okay, find recipes through exploration or by visiting merchants. Visit an apothecary with herbs you gather in the wilderness to upgrade potions. Use the equip station to assign different potions to each of your party members and to replenish the potions you are carrying. Use the upgrade station to unlock permanent upgrades to your potions. Okay.
Segrit told me that he can't let the herbs go for anything less than 8.
Fine. We'll gather our own. Tell Segrit he better hope he doesn't need a salve anytime soon.
Okay.
Look who's back from the dead. Again.
We've met?
I don't recall meeting you before.
I'd be surprised if you did. You weren't particularly coherent. Someone had to patch you up after you staggered out of making those wear, though. So, you're welcome.
Thank you.
I didn't realize. Thank you.
Yeah, well, you can pay me back by fixing the world. Name's Adan. I'm in charge of keeping our little band here stocked with potions and elixirs. Not that Seeker Pentagast seems to care whether we've got the supplies to actually do that.
I don't want to ask him if he's cranky. Okay, how are things?
How are your people holding up?
There's no shortage of work. That's for damn sure.
Okay, you're a bit
For a
cranky.
healer, you don't seem particularly nurturing.
I'm not a healer. I'm an alchemist who's forced to play Mother Hen. You want something to burst into flame on contact with the air? Done. Gladly. Patching up wounded soldiers is a waste of my time and talents. But there are a few around who can help.
Okay, if they need any help?
Is there anything I can do to help out?
We're fine as far as raw labor goes. You've more important things to do than tend to me. I only wish I'd been able to find Master Tajin's notes. Old bastard was working on something special. He died at the Conclave, and his notes weren't here. Been too busy dealing with the wounded to look for them.
How do I order potions?
How do I go about having potions made?
Just take a look there and tell me what you'd like. Find a recipe for something better, I can make that too.
Okay. Oh, there's something to read. Patient observations, day 2. Pulse normal, breathing normal, still unresponsive. Careful drop feed of prep. Elf root extract to hasten her recovery. A lot of thrashing. Mutters about too many eyes. Something about the gray. Encouraging? Oh, there's Solas. Guess there's nothing in here. Let me look at this one more building before I talk to Solas. The Randy Dowager Quarterly. What? Okay, a well-worn quarterly, misses of suspect virtue. That's kind of hilarious. Okay, the Randy Dowager welcomes the cool of autumn with the fall of another, the collected dreams of desire, being the confessions of an apprentice in training, more furrowing than harrowing, forbidden dalliances at their most spirited. The Randy Dowager exhibitions for the noble of thought, but spry of step. The lady herself says, enchanting, one supports the circles, if only because closed doors offer the imagination more. 3 scarfs fluttered in shock out of 5. Okay. Okay, let's have a little chat with Solas.
The chosen of Andraste, a blessed hero sent to save us all.
I'm not a hero.
I've no interest in being a hero. All I want is to find a way to seal this breach.
Pragmatic, but ultimately irrelevant. I've journeyed deep into the Fade in ancient ruins and battlefields to see the dreams of lost civilizations. I've watched as hosts of spirits clash to reenact the bloody past in ancient wars, both famous and forgotten. Every great war has its heroes. I'm just curious what kind you'll be.
You study ancient ruins?
What do you mean, ruins and battlefields?
Any building strong enough to withstand the rigors of time has a history. Every battlefield is steeped in death. Both attract spirits. They press against the veil, weakening the barrier between our worlds. When I dream in such places, I go deep into the Fade. I can find memories no other living being has ever seen.
How can you sleep there?
You fall asleep in the middle of ancient ruins. Isn't that dangerous?
I do set wards. And if you leave food out for the giant spiders, they are usually content to live and let live.
That shoe necklace. Okay, so I'm gonna say that's impressive.
I've never heard of anyone going so far into the Fade. That's extraordinary.
Thank you. It's not a common field of study for obvious reasons. Not so flashy as throwing fire or lightning. The thrill of finding remnants of a 1,000-year-old dream? I would not trade it for anything. I will stay there. At least until the breach has been closed.
Was that in doubt?
I am an apostate surrounded by Chantry forces in the middle of a mage rebellion. Cassandra has been accommodating, but you understand my caution.
Cassandra will protect you.
Cassandra trusts you. She won't let anyone put you into a circle against your will.
Thank you. I appreciate the thought. But now let us hope either the mages or the Templars have the power to seal the breach.
Interesting, he said mages or the Templars. So my character is obviously going to be quite wary of Solas because she's not a fan of... Oh, okay, there are even footprints in the snow. That is awesome. Sorry, a little geek out moment there. Obviously, but she knows that she needs mages to get things accomplished, but she is not a fan.
Closing the breach is our primary goal. But I hope we might also discover what was used to create it. Any artifact of such power is dangerous. The destruction of the Conclave proves that much.
You think it survived?
You don't think whatever created the explosion was destroyed in the blast?
You survived, did you not? The artifact that created the breach is unlike anything seen in this age. I will not believe it destroyed until I see the shattered fragments with my own eyes.
Okay, so I agree.
We would do well to try to recover whatever created the breach.
Leliana's people have scoured the area near the blast and found nothing. Whatever the artifact was, it is no longer there. In any case, did you need me for anything?
Tell me about yourself.
I'd like to know more about you, Solas.
Why?
Do I need a reason?
Why not?
Oh, he doesn't like that.
Caution? Concern about the direction of this Inquisition once our work is done?
Then don't tell me. I wasn't asking as part of the Inquisition.
I'm sorry. With so much fear in the air. What would you know of me?
Why study the Fade?
What made you start studying the Fade?
I grew up in a village to the north. There was little to interest a young man, especially one gifted with magic. But as I slept, spirits of the Fade showed me glimpses of wonders I had never imagined. I treasured my dreams. Being awake, out of the Fade, became troublesome.
That sounds dangerous.
Did spirits try to tempt you?
No more than a brightly colored fruit is deliberately tempting you to eat it. I learned how to defend myself from more aggressive spirits, and how to interact safely with the rest. I learned how to control my dreams with full consciousness. There was so much I wanted to explore.
So does he mean demons, or are spirits something different, or does he think it's all the same? So clearly you woke up.
I gather you didn't spend your entire life dreaming.
No. Eventually, I was unable to find new areas in the Fade.
Why?
2 reasons. First, the Fade reflects the world around it. Unless I traveled, I would never find anything new. Second, the Fade reflects and is limited by our imaginations. To find interesting areas, one must be interesting.
Is that why you're here?
Is this why you joined the Inquisition?
I joined the Inquisition because we were all in terrible danger. If our enemies destroy the world, I would have nowhere to lay my head while dreaming of the Fade.
So I hope that works.
I wish you luck.
Thank you. In truth, I've enjoyed experiencing more of life to find more of the Fade.
How so?
You train to flick a dagger or an arrow to its target. The grace with which you move is a pleasing side benefit. You have chosen a path whose steps you do not dislike because it leads to a destination you enjoy. As have I.
Where have you studied?
You said you'd traveled to many different places.
This world, or its memory, is reflected in the Fade. Dream in ancient ruins, and you may see a city lost to history. Some of my fondest memories were found in crumbling cities, long picked dry by treasure seekers, the best of the battlefields. Spirits press so tightly on the veil that you can slip across with but a thought.
Which battlefields?
Any place in particular?
I dreamt at Ostagar. I witnessed the brutality of the Darkspawn and the valor of the Ferelden warriors. I saw Alistair and the hero Ferelden light the signal fire, and Logain's infamous betrayal of Kaelin's forces.
Yeah, tell me what happened.
I've heard the stories. It would be interesting
Hear his
to hear what it
version.
was really like.
That's just it. In the Fade, I see reflections created by spirits who react to the emotions of the warriors. One moment, I see heroic wardens lighting the fire, and a power-mad villain sneering as he lets King Kaelin fall. The next, I see an army overwhelmed and a veteran commander refusing to let more soldiers die in a lost cause.
And you can't tell which is real.
It is the Fade. They are all real.
Do you work with anyone?
Have you always traveled and studied alone?
Not at all. I have built many lasting friendships. Spirits of wisdom, possessed of ancient knowledge, happy to share what they had seen. Spirits of purpose helped me search. Even wisps, curious and playful, would point out treasures I might have missed.
Wisdom and purpose?
I don't know of any spirits by those names.
They rarely seek this world. When they do, their natures do not often survive exposure to the people they encounter. Wisdom and purpose are too easily twisted to pride and desire.
Yeah, those are demon names.
You're saying that you became friends with Pride and Desire demons?
They were not demons for me.
Meaning?
The Fade reflects the minds of the living. If you expect a spirit of wisdom to be a pride demon, it will adapt. And if your mind is free of corrupting influences, if you understand the nature of the spirit, they can be fast friends.
Can they be your friends, really?
You trust these spirits not to possess you the first time you accidentally make a wish?
Do you trust your friends not to turn on you?
Well, yes, but they're people.
Ah, of course.
You know what I mean.
Are people only people because they are flesh and blood? Is Cassandra defined by her cheekbones and not her faith? Varric by his chest hair and not his wit?
I'm not arguing this.
I'm certain you have some rhetorical trick ready to counter anything I say.
It's likely. I've had a lot of time to discuss the question with people. Or spirits, if you prefer.
We'll talk later.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about this guy thinking that he is friendly with demons and stuff. Tell me about the Fade.
What do you know about the Fade?
A great deal, from my wanderings. There are few hard facts, but I can share what I have learned.
Okay, tell me about the Breach.
I'd like to know more about the Breach.
Simply put, it is a tear in the veil between this world and the Fade, allowing spirits to enter the world physically. Small tears occur naturally when magic weakens the veil, or when spirits cluster at an area that has seen many deaths. But your mark allows you to exert some control over the Breach. That means it was created deliberately.
Tell me about the Veil.
I'd like to know more about the Veil.
Circle mages call it a barrier between this world and the Fade, but according to my studies in ancient elven lore, that is a vast oversimplification. Without it, imagine if spirits entered freely. The Fade was not a place one went, but a state of nature like the wind.
That sounds strange.
I don't know if I can imagine that.
Try. Imagine if spirits were not a rarity, but a part of our natural world. Like a fast-flowing river. Yes, it can drown careless children, but it can also carry a merchant's goods or grind a miller's flour.
That is what the world could be if the Veil were not present. For better or worse.
Tell me about demons.
I'd like to know more about demons.
The Chantry says that demons hate the natural world and seek to bring their chaos and destruction to the living. But such simplistic labels misconstrue their motivations, and in so doing, do all a great disservice. Spirits wish to join the living, and a demon is that wish gone wrong.
Can we change that?
Is there a way to coexist? To live with them?
No, that's not what I
in
meant.
peace, at least without such active confrontation.
Not in the world we know today. The Veil creates a barrier that makes true understanding most unlikely. But the question is a good one, and it matters that you thought to ask.
Okay.
We'll talk later.
Goodbye.
So I think Solas and I are probably not going to get along very well. So I'm just going to have to embrace that now. Let's see what this note says. The Singing Maiden. Have you ever heard the story of King Bedwyr? Bedwyr, like most kings, was of great pride, who expected nothing but complete loyalty from his subjects. He believed the best way to achieve this was through fear. After all, those who feared him would never cross him or question his rule. Most importantly, those who feared him would always seek to please him. Bedwyr cultivated terror in his subordinates through the gleeful and unrestrained use of a contraption referred to as the Maiden. The Maiden was a hinged iron casket, as high and wide and deep as a man, with vicious spikes within, meant to pierce through the poor soul locked into it. Bedwyr's Maiden was a prized possession, and stood in a place of honor in his throne room, often with a screaming victim inside it. Political rivals, suspected assassins, treasonous ministers, the Maiden consumed them all. But as time passed, more people were given to the Maiden for increasingly trivial offenses. The cook for oversalting the king's food, the page boy for dropping his sword. The Maiden cast a pall over the kingdom, and its people prayed for deliverance from their cruel king. Then one day a strange woman rode into the city. She called herself Ember, and was an emissary from a far-off land. Her leaders had heard, she said, of Bedwyr's wisdom, authority, and she sought the king's counsel. The thought that he had earned the adulation of brother kings across the sea made Bedwyr swell with pride, and he granted Ember an audience. They dined and danced, and through it all, Ember flattered and fawned on the king. At the end of the night, Ember asked to see the Maiden, the infamous device that had given Bedwyr all of his power. The king, giddy with praise, proudly presented Ember with the empty contraption. Ember looked at the Maiden, sighed with disappointment, and said, "That does not look terrifying at all. I should have imagined the spikes much sharper." Bedwyr grew red at her comment and replied, "The spikes are sharp enough. Look at the blood that still clings to them." "But it's so small," said Ember. "Are only children and women its victims?" Bedwyr grew still redder and replied, "Of course not. The Maiden has devoured many men." Ember shook her head and said to the king, "I do not believe it. Surely no warrior could fear this thing. A man like yourself, tall and muscled, could not fit within." The king laughed and saw a way to prove the merit of the maid into Ember. I will show you how easily a man like myself could fit, he said, and with that he stepped into the device, but Ember was waiting, and no sooner had Bedward squeezed himself into the iron casket than Ember slammed it shut on him. Ember took the maiden with the screaming Bedward inside, through the castle and down into the city, and the people, finally free from the king's tyranny, cheered and danced to the singing that echoed through the streets, until Bedward was dead and it finally stopped, a tale often told in the Singing Maiden Tavern.
It's far too soon to consider anything like that.
Let's see what quest I have. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it's turned off. Mixing potions. I still need to see the smith. Okay.
Soon to consider anything like that.
I was talking with a friend who said there used to be a verse about an elf in the Chant of Light.
No, that's not true. I'm sorry, but that doesn't mean the Maker loves you any less.
The lights in the shadow.
Okay, I do want to keep talking to everyone, but I feel like I should run in real quick. I feel like it's probably about 10 minutes ago now that it said Colin was finished with his mission, so let's see if there's anything new that I can assign.
All men are the work of our Maker's hands.
Though you had granted them power over the very fate.
Okay. Okay, so I got an Amulet of Power. I'll have to look and see what that is. That's awesome. And I gathered more gold. And there's no new missions. Okay, so I came back here for no reason. Okay.